let's apply to Oregon Institute of Technology. We're going to start on the Oregon Goes to College website. From the College Info menu tab, select Apply to College, and that'll take us to a page that has a lot of really great information about what we need to do to be prepared to sit down and apply. And that includes a list of the documents or supporting materials we're going to need to gather in order to complete the application, and some tips for how to be successful when we are ready to go. Now, I already know I'm going to apply to Oregon Tech, and I've gathered all of my materials, including making sure that I have opened a tab with my It's a Plan College workbook. This is the place where I keep information about myself that I know colleges are going to ask me for, but I don't necessarily have memorized. So that's things like the residency information. You may be using a Google Doc workbook for this. You might be using the It's a Plan College app on your mobile phone, or you might have another place where you're keeping all of this information. But gather that and let's go ahead and get started. Because I know I'm all ready, I'm going to scroll down to this table that has a list of all of Oregon's colleges and universities. Click on the Public Universities tab and find Oregon Institute of Technology. Now, I also, before I click that, want to make a note that there is a $50 application fee, and that tells me that I need to be prepared to either request a fee waiver or deferral form when I submit my application, or also make sure that I have a credit card or a debit card available so that I can submit that fee when I submit my application. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this link. It'll take me directly to the college's website and to the page where I can begin the application process. Now here they actually give us an opportunity to request that fee waiver now, so it's reminding us that there's that $50 fee and that we can either pay by credit card or by requesting this waiver now. I will not be requesting a waiver, but if you will be, let's take a look and see what that looks like. The fee waiver is available for students who have a financial need. So for example, a student who is on free and reduced lunch, or who has used a fee waiver for other things in the past. You can talk to your counselor if you wonder whether or not you might be eligible for that. But in order to request that from Oregon Tech, you're going to provide this information and click Submit, and that will give them the hint that you're asking to have that waiver. But let's go back and begin the application process itself. So I'm going to scroll down, and I have an option to apply as an undergraduate or a graduate student. I'm an undergraduate. That means that I am planning to start my first time in college and be looking to earn my first college degree. I noticed that there is a bit of information that there might be some programs that have additional requirements. So if you're applying to one of these, you'll want to make sure that you are also submitting those additional requirements, but we're going to just go through the basic application here. And so we're going to click on Apply as an Undergraduate. And then it gives me the choice of what kind of undergraduate am I, and I will again be applying to enter Oregon Tech as a first-year student in the fall after I graduate from high school. So I'm going to choose that. And this reminds me a little bit of information about what that means, and I will go ahead and choose Apply as a first-year undergraduate. Now, I will need to create an account, and because I have not yet done that for Oregon Tech, so I'm going to go ahead and choose Create an Account to start my new application and give them my email address. Now, I'm choosing an email address that I am using for all of my college information, and it's an email address that I'm checking on a regular basis. I'm also making sure that in this section I'm adding my legal first name and my legal last name. So not a nickname, not another name that I go by, but my legal first and last name. They probably will ask me if I have other names that I want them to use, and I'll be able to add those later in the application. I'm going to add my birth date and click Continue. Now it says a temporary PIN has been sent to my email address, and so I need to check my email and see if I can find that. And so I also have my email address or email inbox all set up and ready to go, and I need to wait for that email to arrive. But it looks like here it got sent into the promotions tab, so I can find that here. And I will click this activate account and enter this PIN number. I'm going to copy and paste, or copy this PIN number now before clicking on activate account. I'm going to paste the number that they had given me there and include my birth date one more time. And click login. Now I need to provide a new email address, and I am going to choose that now. And I'm not going to remember that. Okay, now I have that in my mind, but I want to make sure that I remember it, and so I'm going to, at my first opportunity, make sure that I add that to the passwords tab in my It's a Plan College app or wherever I keep that information. So now I'm in, and I have not yet started an application, so I'm going to click on this link that allows me to do that here. Yes, I want to create this application, and it says that that is in progress, and I can go ahead and get started. Okay. Now you can see on the left-hand side there's going to be a list of all of the different steps I'm going to have to take as I go through this process. And we'll just take it page by page. And the first thing is they have entered in my legal name for me based on what I chose in the login, and I can add my middle name here. Suffix is the opportunity if I am a junior or a senior, I have a number after my name, I'm going to want to add that here. If you have that, definitely include it. If you don't have that as a part of your legal name, you can leave it blank, just as I'm going to. Keep in mind that these first three names, these are all legal names. These are the names that are on my birth certificate, on my high school transcript, on my driver's license if I have one. The next section for names is where I get to make a decision about other names that I like to be called. So for example, I much prefer that people use my nickname of Livy. That's how I want the institution to address me. And so I'm going to include that there. Other last names is the opportunity to provide any other legal last names that you've had or other last names that you've used for some reason. The most common reason that somebody might have another last name or a previous last name is adoption or marriage, those kinds of things. So you want to add any of those last names here if you have them. Now we're looking for a permanent home address. There's actually two address options here, and one of them is where we live and one is where we want our mail to be sent. Those may be the same, but let's start with the permanent home address, and I'm going to include that here. And I have a second line, I live in apartment 121, and so that is how you'd use two lines for that. And city. Now, when we get down to the mailing address, I can choose to have that be the same as my permanent address, and if I click on that, it will automatically fill that in for me. If I have a different mailing address or I want my mail sent someplace other than where I live, I could choose a different address here, and that's the address that the college will use to be in touch with me. They already have my email address from submitting my login information, but I could choose to change that now if I want to, if I decide that I have a different email I'm using for college purposes. I'm going to include my cell phone. I can choose my home phone number and or my cell phone number. And if I choose this box, this is the cell phone opt-in for text messages. So if I choose this box to provide my phone number, then I'm providing a cell phone number that it's okay for them to send me text messages. Those might be messages, probably things like reminders of I still need to submit my transcripts to them, or a reminder of a deadline that's coming up. If I don't want text messages about reminders from Oregon Tech, then I could put my cell phone number in the home phone number option. But I don't mind having those text messages, so I'm going to include that here. Now looking for information about sex at birth, and I'm going to choose female. Now, one of the reasons that they're asking for sex at birth specifically is related to financial aid. In order to be eligible for federal financial aid, you are required to provide your sex at birth. And so that's a question that they're asking here. And they already have my birth date, and again, that's from the login information. And I can provide information about citizenship. I'm a citizen of the United States. Now that brought up a question about Social Security. If I had not chosen United States, that Social Security number wouldn't show up. I am not required to provide my Social Security number. However, again, for federal aid purposes, if I'm planning to apply for financial aid, I will need to provide my Social Security number for federal financial aid, and therefore doing that now just makes the whole process easier. So I'm going to go ahead and add those in now. If you are not a U.S. citizen, you may still be eligible for aid from the state or from other places, but the federal piece is going to require the Social Security number. Now, it is optional for me to provide information about race and ethnicity. I'm going to choose to go ahead and answer that question, and you can too if you want, but you don't have to. It is an optional question. But I'm going to go ahead and click the boxes that are accurate for me and click continue. They didn't like my address. They don't think that it was entered correctly, but I know that it is, and so I'm going to go ahead and say skip validation. If you get a note like this, you'll want to check to make sure that the address is correct, and you can do what I'm going to do and skip validation. If it's not correct, you can go back and fix it. And I had to click that twice, but it did allow me through. So now they're going to ask me for additional information, and this is information about my parent or legal guardian, and this is required because I am a minor. And so I'm going to give information about my mother, and they're looking for their name and an email address and a phone number, and these are required. Her address is also required, and she lives the same place that I do. She is also going to be my emergency contact, and so I'm going to just enter her information one more time. Check to make sure everything is correct. And yes, they are asking sometimes for the same information. But I could have chosen a different contact and emergency contact, and if I did, then this information would be different than what I had provided before. So again, now we're back to gender and sexual identity. So these questions are asking about how we identify. Unlike the question on the first page that asked what our sex at birth was, that was required for the federal aid side of things, this is where we get to identify our information. And These are not required categories, but I can answer them if I choose to. And so you have the option to identify as LGBT or not, and you have the option to choose a gender identity or not, so you can leave these blank. You also have the option to provide your preferred pronouns if you want to do that. I'm going to ask about t-shirt size. I suspect that means they might be sending me a t-shirt, so we'll go ahead and choose that. And if we have any members that have attended Oregon Tech, we will want to choose that here. I personally don't have any, but if you have an aunt or an uncle or a brother or sister, you'll want to click those boxes as well. This is asking if I am a first-generation college student. Has any of my parents ever graduated with a bachelor's degree? They have not. So yes, I am a first-generation college student. I am interested in living on campus. So these are already ticked as a default no. So if I want to change that, I do need to click on the button. Otherwise, it's going to go just directly with whatever the default is. I have not participated in Project Lead the Way or Upward Bound, but again, if you have, you should. I don't think I'm interested in the Oregon Tech Honors Program, but if you are, you should click yes. I am not a current or former foster youth, and so I'm going to leave that as no, but if you are, definitely click yes. And I have never been convicted of a felony, so I'm going to leave that as no as well. And if the answer was yes, then I would need to provide an explanation for that. Now, it does mention here that having a felony conviction doesn't prevent you from being admitted, but you do need to be honest on an application. So having the felony conviction is not a reason to not admit you, but having one and not being honest about it is a reason to not be admitted. So you just want to make sure that you're answering that question correctly or honestly. Okay, and we can go ahead and click continue. And we're now on to the next section, academic plan. I plan to start in fall 2021. So I'm going to graduate in the spring of 2021, and I will start the fall after that. And I do plan to start at the main campus, but you might be interested in starting at the Portland campus, in which case you would go ahead and choose that. But I plan on being in Klamath Falls. And for my major, I am undecided at this point. I know that I'm interested in science and technology and engineering, but I'm not quite sure what. I'd like to spend a little bit of time still exploring that, and so I'm going to choose general studies here. And I don't plan to participate in a dual enrollment program with a community college, but if you do, you should check yes. And let's see what happens when we check yes. It's going to ask me which of those community colleges I plan to dual enroll with. And then I would choose one of these 6 that are listed here. And it does ask you to choose that only if that is a plan that you have. So you'll want to know that before you sit down to apply. But my answer is no. I plan to go full-time Oregon Tech only. Go ahead and click continue. And I'm now going to be asked about my high school information, my education information. I am a high school student, and I have not taken any courses in high school, so I'm going to click no. If I click yes, my guess is that I'm going to have some additional questions to answer later, but for me, the answer is no. And so then I have the option to choose a high school. And I have to choose a high school. This is a requirement. And so I'm going to enter my high school in here. And I go to Corvallis High School, and I'm noticing here that there are 2 different Corvallis High Schools, one in Montana, one in Oregon. I want to make sure to choose the one that I attend in Oregon. And I'm going to graduate in June of 2021. My GPA is a 3.2. And I am required to provide 1 extra character, so a 3.20. I have not already taken SAT or ACT scores, and in fact, I don't plan to. It is possible to apply test optional to Oregon Tech, and I'm planning to do that. So I'm not going to click that I've taken any of these tests. But if you have somehow taken a test already and you want to share your scores, you can click on one of these and you'll see that it gives you the option to enter your scores here. And the same would happen if you clicked on the SAT. But I'm going to leave that blank. And now they're going to ask me to report the classes that I have taken all throughout high school. And so let's get started. I'm required to have 4, so this is a really good option, a good time to have my transcript ready to go, either a printout of it or a tab where I have my transcript loaded up. I have a printout, and so I'm just going to go ahead and enter that here. So I took my first English course, and I need to provide my grade for that. And this is going to take a little bit of time. And basically what they're asking me for is, so what was my English course, the first English course I took in 9th grade? What did I earn in the first semester? What grade did I earn in the second semester? And then if I had a full year-long grade, I would provide that here. So you'll need to look at your transcript and know whether you have semester grades or a full year grade. And then they're asking, what was the level of that course? And so I have the choice between standard, honors, advanced placement, IB, so whichever course that is for you. And then once I filled that out, it brought me up to my second English course. I'm going to put this on pause and fill out the rest of this so that I'll be able to continue through and then come back and we'll talk about the math courses and so on. So we'll be back in just a second. Before we move on to math, you'll see I've filled out the rest of my English courses, and I want to point out a couple of things. In my junior year, I took my English class first semester, and then second semester, because of COVID, I had a pass in that class rather than a letter grade, and that is an option to select here, and so I was able to do that. And then for my senior year courses, I of course haven't actually taken that course yet. It is still in progress, and so I was able to choose in progress, and I'll do that for the second semester as well, and it will ask me then what level the course was. And once I get to the end of my English courses, it asks if I have any additional English courses. So maybe I actually took another class, another English class, and I could choose to do that. But the answer is no. They asked me to provide the 4 that are required for admission. We're going to do the exact same thing: 4 required math courses, 3 required lab science courses, 2 social science courses, my CTE or fine arts class, and my academic elective. So again, I'm going to put this on pause while I fill this out because I need to fill this out in order to move on to the next page. But it basically looks exactly the same as it has for all of the English classes. And so I just need to take the time to match my transcript to my additional courses. And so we're going to pause here, and when we come back, I'll have that completely filled out. Okay, I've finished filling out all of the grades that they're looking for. Now, I want to let you know one quick thing, and that is that on the math and science, English, math, and science courses, I had the opportunity to report additional classes. So if I took more than was required, so it has that required number, and if I took more than was required in those classes, English, math, and lab sciences, then I could click yes and add an additional course that I may have taken. But that's not true for social science and career CTE or fine arts classes. And so I have taken more social studies classes, for example, social science classes, than just the 2 required. And I just entered 2 that I have taken and left the other one not included. And that is okay. And the same is true for CTE and fine art and my elective. I only need to provide one of those and then click continue. Okay, now they're wondering about my military service, and I am not in the armed forces, and so I'm going to go ahead and click no and continue. Now they're going to ask me some questions about residency. These are questions about whether or not I am an Oregon resident for purposes of in-state tuition. And so again, these are questions that's going to be really important across the application to answer honestly, but that's certainly true in this section. I do consider myself a resident of Oregon, and I am under the age of 24. They ask me this because if I'm under the age of 24, then what they really need to know is information about my parents' residency, not just mine, but also about my parents. So I don't know this information. I have talked to my parents about it. I've recorded it, and I've included it in my It's a Plan college worksheet. And so I'm going to go to this to find the answers to the question. When did my parent or guardian move to Oregon? And I have that information here in the residency information. And they arrived in May of 1998, so I can go back and enter that information here. They arrived in May. (1998). And when did they get a driver's license? Do I have that information? I don't have that information, but I do remember talking to my mom about it, and she told me that she got it immediately when she moved. And so we're going to include that as the same date here. And the income taxes, again, I have that listed here. These are the income taxes, so 2018 and 19. And did my parent, they're not in the military, so I'm going to go ahead and say no and click continue. And now I am certifying that what I have entered is true. These are various certifications. And so you'll want to read through these. This first one says, is it okay for the college to include me in photos? And so I can say yes. And then this is asking if everything that I have provided is true and accurate. And so I say yes. If I had completed the fee waiver form, I would have gotten an email that sent me a code, and I would copy and paste that code here. Or if I hadn't yet filled that out, I could click on the button and it would take me to that page again, and I would enter the fee waiver here. Because I didn't choose to do that, I am going to, and then I have the opportunity to sign my application by using my full legal name. And it is taking a look at my application, and it is letting me know that there were a couple of potential errors. Now, these are warnings are optional. So these are things that I can choose to include or not include. And I made a conscious choice to not answer those questions. And so I am not going to answer them, and that is okay. But if I wanted to, I could click and go back and answer them again. I can choose to be done now by finalizing my application. That means I'm going to go ahead and submit it and pay my $50 fee. Or if I am not ready to pay, or I have a couple things I'm still thinking about, I could choose to save for later. But if I'm ready to go, I want to go ahead and click this button. When I do that, it submits my application, and then we'll have an opportunity for me to enter payment information. And so once I do that, I have applied to Oregon Tech, and so have you. Congratulations.